Pastor Andrew. And Pastor Andrew, I imagine moving into this building was a tremendous step of faith.
Certainly was, Greg. I can remember vividly the night we made the decision. We'd had a few problems with the council, but finally they'd been overcome, and we'd been to the bank, and they'd said, yes, we can have $1 million, but on our accounting, we're $1,000 a week short of our repayment. And we went to the people, and there'd been pledges. But you know what pledges are like? Sometimes they come in and sometimes they don't. The pledges were good, and it looked as if we could meet our commitments. So the night came, and we sat there in the board meeting, and we put our heads down, we prayed. We said, God, do you want us to do this? Do you want us to take this step? If you want it, only then we're interested in doing it. We then passed the ballot papers around, did a secret ballot, counted the ballots up, unanimous. We take the step.
That's tremendous.
And we've never regretted it.
Yeah, yeah. And how's God honoured that step of faith?
Well, since we moved into the building, for example, we've increased by 2,000 people that are on our rolls. And of course, many thousands of decisions. So we give Jesus all the glory and all the praise.
As a larger established body, we have our own building. A substantial Christian centre, in fact. It's true, it's not the building which makes the church, but of course the people. To house and facilitate the body of Paradise, much planning, discussion, prayer and believing had to go into the centre we now enjoy. To take us through the history of the building, our special guest presenter, Pastor Paul Newsham.
Hello everyone. In 1980, our church, then known as the Klemzig AOG, the church with the tall tower on the northeast road, had grown to about 1,800 people. It was obvious that something had to be done to overcome the tremendous stress that our facilities were feeling. A new building, larger, with adequate car parking, was soon to become the centre of discussion. To help me to explain how it all came together, I'm joined by someone who happens to know quite a lot about the building, John Pittman. Welcome, John.
Hello, Pastor Paul.
John, back in those days, you were, as you are now, a member of the board. You had some experience with building, and you therefore got involved in what we've just talked about.
Yes, I'd had some experience in being associated with a couple of other churches and being responsible for their buildings and building our own commercial premises as well. And obviously, from the board's point of view, I was the one to lean on.
Right. Now, our facilities, I remember, were jam-packed. We really were packing them in.
We were holding 4 services a day, the first at 9 o'clock in the morning, then a service at 11 o'clock, and then 4:30 in the afternoon, another one at 6.
This is pictures of our final service. She was packed out that day.
Yes, it was.
So we really were forced into a point of expansion.
We had no seats available for new people to come in. We had no parking spaces available. And we as a board felt that we really had to do something to overcome the problems and see more souls come to Christ.
Yeah. As I remember, we had 11 parking spots on that property.
Something like that.
But then, if you remember, we found that block of land, that land that really was going to be the answer to all our problems. Here's a picture of it. Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, it's a picturesque site, actually, right in the Torrens Valley. And it's very close to a major arterial route. There's no houses around it that could be affected by sound or any other problem generated there. And we felt that it was God's provision for us as a church at that time.
Well, let's have a look at the plans of the building and work out how did we arrive at the particular building design that we've got here on the screen now.
Well, the first thing we did was appoint an architect who'd had experience in church buildings like this, and we found a good Christian architect to do just that. Then we circularised all our departments and asked them to submit what their requirements were.
It was way out of proportion, wasn't it?
Yeah, some of them had goals of faith that we are surprised at.
Yeah, there's lots of little rooms and things there that were all the various things that they came up with.
It's interesting to note that the side walls of the building can be removed for future expansion. I think the church is capable of holding something like 3,000 at the present time, but if those walls were expanded, it would hold around about 10,000 people.
Really? So what shape would that become?
It would be a complete semicircle.
Really? Could it go further?
Well, it's possible, with a little bit of alteration, it could go to a full circle with a pulpit right in the middle of the church.
Wow. Because the thing is then to pay for all of this, and I remember that was a pretty scary experience.
Yes, it stretched all our faith.
Oh, yes, I remember that. And the cost in it all was quite high. I think we worked it out that it was about 1.5. This is how we came up with it. The premises at Clemzig sold to the Multiple Sclerosis Society for $250,000. We sold a block of land at Windsor Garden for $63,000. We had $191,000 cash in hand, and then we borrowed $1 million from the bank.
We had to believe for $1 million to be repaid over the shortest possible time.
Yeah, that was pretty scary, I remember. Well, we were at a point then where we were all set up to go. We had the location, we had the plans, which did get some opposition from the locals, but they finally got through the council. We had all the important finance, though we were pretty fearful of that amount of money. And in a few minutes, John and I are going to come back and we're going to share how all the people then got together to make those plans become a reality.